Hi, welcome back to Teaching Them. I'm Michael Keats, and I have a lesson for you today. It's based on the book of Acts, and particularly on chapter 12, where we have James as the first martyr, and then Peter is imprisoned, and then he has a miraculous escape from prison. And so this is a lesson that goes specifically with that story. So this is a game, and it's a game of tag. And you only need a few things to make it work. A couple of hula hoops are really helpful, but if you don't have hula hoops, you could tape off a space, or you could just put a rope down, because that's going to be like the prison cell for this story. And then you need some paper where you write down the roles of the people. There are 3 roles that people can play, and you can have multiple people playing the same roles. So you need the role of Peter, because he's going to be imprisoned, and then you need the role of an angel who's going to free him from prison, and then you need some guards. And the guards are basically it. They're the ones who have to tag people, and they can tag Peter and take him to prison and get him in there, but the angel can get him out of prison. So I'll explain how all that works as I kind of do the lesson. So this is how I would run it. Hey, welcome kids. I have a lesson for you today. We're going to learn about this miraculous story from the book of Acts, where we have Peter, who you probably remember is one of Jesus's friends. And when Jesus went back into heaven, he appointed Peter to be the leader of the church, the early church that was there in Jerusalem. And so Peter was leading the church, and then a guy named King Herod. King Herod was a really bad guy. He was a guy who kind of ruled. He was allowed to rule by the Romans, who really had control, and he would do all kinds of terrible things. But one thing that he did is that he arrested James. James was one of Jesus' friends, and he had him killed. And when he had him killed, the Jewish leaders, the same Jewish leaders who had crucified Jesus, they were really happy with King Herod. And so King Herod thought, I'm going to do more of this. So he arrested Peter as the leader of the church. And he had him in jail, and he was planning to kill him, just like he had killed James. But then we have the story that we can read from Acts chapter 12, starting in verse 1. And I would get a volunteer to read this if you can. You might have a couple of volunteers to read it. But since it's just me, I'll read it. All right, Acts chapter 12, starting in verse 1. About that time, Herod the king laid violent hands on some who belonged to the church. He killed James, the brother of John, with a sword. And when he saw that it pleased the Jews, he proceeded to arrest Peter also. This was during the days of unleavened bread, which was a holiday that the Jews celebrated every year. And when he had seized him, he put him in prison, delivering him over to the squads of soldiers to guard him, intending after the Passover to bring him out to the people. So Peter was kept in prison, but earnest prayer for him was being made to God by the church. So everybody in the church is praying hard for Peter, and they want him to be rescued. So now when Herod was about to bring him out on that very night, Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers. He was bound with chains, and sentries were before the door and guarding the prison. And behold, an angel of the Lord stood next to him, and a light shone in the cell. The angel of the Lord struck Peter on the side and woke him, saying, "Get up quickly." And the chains fell off of his hands. And the angel said to him, "Dress yourself and put on your sandals." And he did so. And he said to him, "Wrap your cloak around you and follow me." And he went out and he followed the angel. He did not know what was being done by the angel, if it were real or not, but he thought he was seeing a vision or having a dream. When they had passed the first and the second guard, they came to an iron gate leading into the city. It opened for them without anybody having to touch it, and they went out and went along the street, and immediately the angel left him. When Peter came to himself, he said, "Now I am sure that the Lord has sent his angel and rescued me from the hand of Herod and from all that the Jewish people were expecting." When he realized this, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose name was Mark. where they were gathered together and they were praying for him. And when he knocked at the door to the gateway, a servant girl named Rhoda came to answer. Recognizing Peter's voice, in her joy, she didn't open the gate, but ran in and reported that Peter was standing at the gate. Then they said to her, "You are out of your mind." But she kept insisting that it was so, and they kept saying, "It's his angel. It's not really Peter." But Peter continued knocking, and when they opened, they saw him, and they were amazed. But motioning to them with his hand to be silent, he described to them how the Lord had brought him out of the prison, and he said to them, "Tell these things to James and the brothers," and he departed and went to another place. Now, he was talking about a different James than the James who had been killed. This was James, the brother of Jesus, who was, at this point, had given his heart to Jesus and now was leading in the church. So, isn't that an incredible story? That Peter was in prison. He was going to be killed the very next day. An angel appears. The chains fall off of his arms miraculously. And then he gets up between the guards. The guards don't wake up. He walks past 2 guard stations. The guards don't even notice him and the angel. They get to an iron gate. The iron gate just opens on its own, and then the angel disappears. Isn't that incredible? I mean, God does miracles, and it's fantastic. And so we're going to celebrate this, and we're going to play a game that will kind of remind us about it. And so I have these 2 hula hoops, and so I'm going to put these on the floor in different places, and these hula hoops are going to represent prison. These are prison. And so Peter, we're going to play a game of tag, and we're going to have 3 roles. And the 3 roles are Peter, and Peter's going to try to stay out of the hula hoop. But the second role, the guard can put Peter into prison. And then the third role is the angel, and the angel can come and free Peter from prison and get him out. Okay, so 3 roles. You've got Peter, who's going to try to stay out of prison, the guard, who's going to try to tag Peter and put him into prison, and the angel, who can free Peter from prison if he ever gets in there. So there are some rules that you got to remember, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you each a slip, and on the slip it's going to tell you if you're Peter, the angel, or a guard, and you got to keep that secret. Don't tell anybody what your role is. You want to keep that secret. We'll figure it out as the game is played, but in the beginning of the game, we don't want to know. So we're going to play in this space right here. You cannot go beyond the lines, and you'd have to define this based on whatever space you have. But we can't go beyond the boundaries that I'm showing you. And so if you're Peter, you're going to try to stay out of jail. Don't get tagged. If you do get tagged by a guard, then an angel can free you. And an angel will come and stand in the hula hoop with you, and will have something they'll say to you that will enable them to get free. And once you get free, you have 3 seconds to get away from the jail without being tagged. So you can't be tagged in the first 3 seconds. You got to run to some place where there are no guards. If you're a guard, then you're going to try to tag Peter, but you don't know who Peter is. Anybody could be Peter, so you're going to go around tagging people. If you tag an angel, the angel's going to say, "Angel," and then they can't be taken to jail, but they also get frozen for 20 seconds. They have to count to 20 before they can move, okay? So tagging an angel still is a good thing for a guard because you freeze them for 20 seconds. If you're an angel, by the way, if you tag Peter, then you get to take him and put him inside the jail, and he can't get out of the jail unless an angel comes and frees him. Now, angels, you're going to be secret angels. You don't want anybody to know that you're an angel. Unless you get tagged, then you have to admit it, and you say angel, but then you got to count to 20 before you can go anywhere. You are able to free a Peter. If there's a Peter who's inside the cell, you can free them. And what you do is you stand inside the hula hoop, and then you say, "Peter, Peter, you should know, God sent an angel to let you go. Peter, Peter, you should know, God sent an angel to let you go." So everybody say it with me. Peter, Peter, you should know, God sent an angel to let you go. Okay, and then once you say that, Peter can run free. They get 3 seconds to get through. There are going to be multiple Peters, could be up to 4 Peters out there, and the game ends at 3 minutes. I'm going to time it for 3 minutes, and when I say done, then we're done. If all the Peters are in jail at any time during the game, even before the 3 minutes, if all the Peters are in jail, then the guards win, and Peter and the angel lose. But if when I call time done at 3 minutes, if even one Peter is free, then Peter and the angels win. Does that make sense? All right, anybody have any questions? All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you draw these names from a cup, and then you'll read it and make sure you know what your role is, and then I'll collect those all back, and then we'll get started. Okay, so teachers, as you're doing this, you'll probably get several rounds of it. It's going to go really fast. So you want to cut these names up and put them into a cup. You don't have to print out my version of it. You could just make your own copies of this. But you got to remember what the rules are. So for Peter, if Peter gets tagged by a guard, they got to stand in the jail cell until an angel comes and frees them. And then they get a 3-second head start to get away before a guard can come after them again. They have to stay within the boundaries. They can't run outside or anything like that. If they're a guard, then they go around tagging anybody who's not already in a jail cell. If it's an angel, they can freeze the angel for 20 seconds. If it's Peter, then they get to put him in jail. If it's an angel can be frozen for 20 seconds, but then they can get free. And anytime they see Peter in a guard in one of the prisons, they can go and free him by saying, Peter, Peter, you should know, God sent an angel to let you go. Okay? So that's how that works. So if you want to print out the rules and all that stuff, the lesson's available for you at www.teachingthem.org. And it's a fun lesson. I've done it a couple times and we always have a blast with it. So I hope you'll have a blast. Leave me some comments. Let me know how it goes. And I'll see you next time.